Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? It's good to be back, and it's good for more Tigers victories. That's right, 9 of their last 11. How about that, sports fans? Welcome one, welcome all. Fired up to be with you, as always, on Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. I am your host, Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. In the second half of the season, not technically the exact division between one half of the season, the second half, but the post-All-Star break season begins tonight, and the Tigers get it done with a win in Toronto. 5-4 winners over the Blue Jays. We'll break it all down. This team continues to play some really good baseball. The bats were alive. There was some pitching, and I want to know what your buy-in level is at. That's all coming up on this live edition of Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. But first, fired up to thank our sponsor making this show possible. This episode of Locked On Tigers POSTCAST is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And listen, this wasn't always easy, but man, the Tigers get it done. A couple of long balls. Thank you, Mark Canha. Thank you, Wenceel Perez. And just enough offense and just enough pitching for this Tigers team to get a win. And it feels really good because, like I said, that's 9 out of 11. And you know what? It feels great to be back in this chair. I'll admit I had a little vacation scheduled before the Locked On Tigers POSTCAST gig came to be and was scheduled to be off around the All-Star break. Missed the last 3 games against the Dodgers, but I was there Friday night, and then lo and behold, Saturday and Sunday were 2 of the most epic games we've had all year. And of course, I wasn't there to bring you Locked On Tigers POSTCAST live afterwards, but here we are. It keeps rolling, and I'm fired up to be with you tonight. As always, we thank you for watching on Locked On Tigers POSTCAST on YouTube and Locked On Sports Detroit. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe, and we'll get the comments going in just a moment because we got a lot of people tuning in. And all of a sudden, this baseball team is really, really fun to follow, to watch, to be around. And I know it's only 1 game in the second half of the season, but now you've got a team that's 2 games below 500. They've won 9 of their last 11. You're starting to see the pieces come into fruition, and all of a sudden, the conversations we had around this team about selling at the deadline sound a little bit different as we inch closer and closer to that July 30th trade deadline. Now, I know this is Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, so we'll break down this game specifically, and then we'll get into some of the broader, bigger picture stuff. But Tigers win 5-4 over the Blue Jays, and I beg your pardon, they're now 48 and 50. Yes, I was right. 48 and 50. That's what I had in my mind. So 2 games below 500, and now after the impressive homestand against the Guardians and the Dodgers, now get a win on the road against the Blue Jays, 24 and 26 on the road. And big shout out and credit to Jack Flaherty, 5 2/3, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, struck out 8 while walking just 1. And he's another guy that his name has been mentioned, obviously, in trade conversations because of what he could mean for another contending team as a rental compared to what Tarek Skubal might mean with a couple more years of team control. But again, we'll push that back in the back burner and get into it towards the end of the program. But I want to talk about tonight's game because, again, it was enough of a team effort where you felt good about the offense. You felt good about the pitching. The bullpen wasn't exactly exceptional. Bo Brisky leaves some to be desired for his performance, but at the end of the day, you don't have to draw a picture on the scorecard. How many times do I see that? Or how many times do I say that? It's a win for the Tigers. It's a 5-4 win over the Blue Jays to begin the second half of the season. 9 wins out of their last 11, and that feels really, really good to say. And I think you're seeing a little bit of, I think the kids call it aura, right? Aura with this team. There's a little bit of swag. There's the body language certainly senses some confidence and that sort of thing. So you absolutely love to see it, and to take the All-Star break, then go on the road. And again, the Blue Jays probably are a team that are selling at the deadline. A lot of pieces there that could be moved. So they haven't necessarily played their best ball, but you'll take a win any way that you can get it. And again, it's a great way to start the weekend series and begin the second half of the season, where now all of a sudden there's a buzz, there's some momentum, there's some belief, and there's a lot of excitement in and around this team. So as always, we appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Tigers Postcast. We got a lot of people wanting to get in on the comments. We always encourage you to comment if you're watching the live show on Locked On Sports Detroit. Jason Walter is first up saying, bye, bye, bye. And no, this is not an NSYNC song. Bye, bye, bye. Sorry, that's a really bad rendition of that. I think it's NSYNC, or is it Backstreet Boys? That's my bad all the way. That's my childhood. I should know. I think is it Backstreet Boys, or is it NSYNC that sings the bye, 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 bye? Somebody's got to help me out. Those were the two boy bands of my day. But yes, bye, bye, bye. Absolutely. YouTube user reminds us that there is not all positives to take away. Vlad Guerrero Jr. always seems to make the Tigers and Jays games interesting, but a nice win tonight. Yeah, Vlad Guerrero Jr. with a 2-run bomb. And I know nobody cares about this stuff, but I remember watching Vlad Guerrero Jr. in the Midwest League at Dow Diamond in Midland, Michigan. And what did he would have been for the Lansing Lugnuts? That's right. Lansing Lugnuts in single A baseball. He won the home run derby one year at Dow Diamond, and you knew he was going to be an absolute star, obviously, with his father and the success that he had in the bigs and the pedigree that he comes from. Really impressive stuff there. So yeah, we know Vlad Guerrero Jr. is that guy. Adam Cullum, my main man. It's great to see you back in the comments, Adam. Always great catching up with you and exchanging messages on the Instagram. He says, Adam Cullen says, let's go. Well, it got dicey when Bo gave up the home run. I was like, here we go. LOL. Mark Canha actually did something, and Wenceel is still hot. Good win, and thankfully they did not implode. Yeah, I tweeted this out that, oh boy, this feels like a nightmare. And I felt that way when the Tigers were all of a sudden comfortably in front 5-2, and then Jerry Springer hits that home run to left off of Bo Brisky, and all of a sudden a 5-2 game becomes 5-4, and it did in fact get a little dicey. That's a good point by Adam Cullum, but lo and behold, they get the W, and that's all that matters. You don't have to draw a picture on the scorecard. Johnny Bryles says, waited out until closer to the trade deadline to see what to do. Go Tigers. Johnny, that sounds way too logical. You know that we're emotional around here on Locked On Sports Detroit, and especially when it comes to the Tigers, because when they win a game, we're going to be all in. Let's go Tigers. And then when they lose, the sky is falling. We say, sell, sell, sell. That's how it works around here. But we got a lot of comments coming in. Much appreciated. My man, Mr. Nick, helping me out. It is NSYNC with the bye, bye, bye. Okay. I don't know why I thought Backstreet Boys. Backstreet Boys are the Backstreets back. All right. That's enough singing, of course, for tonight's episode. Adam Cullum again getting in the comments. From what I heard, Dodgers and Orioles are interested in Scoopel, but the Tigers don't want to trade him. I think we need more depth in our farm system, but I don't want to trade our ace, so I'm stuck. Yeah, we'll get into that at the end of the program, Adam, and I'm with you. I've thought about this way too much, especially the last couple of days without any Tigers baseball. When I got back from vacation on Wednesday, I thought, all right, how do I really want to dissect and look into this Tarek Skubal thing? And right now, and tonight's results certainly helped with that. Right now, I do think I'm still in a holding pattern. I like this team we've got, but it also makes me that much more angry thinking what this team could have been with a couple more bats added to the lineup. But, Scott Harris in the front office and Chris Ilitch didn't want to open up the pocketbooks and say, no, we don't need any bats. Of course not. But that's neither here nor there. We won't get too into the weeds on that. Demetrius McNeil is up. Jake, after using 2 ninth-inning magic wins over the Dodgers, come back and win game 1 over the Jays. No wonder they are smoking hot. Yeah, great point, Demetrius McNeil. Always appreciate you getting in the comments. And I was starting to feel a little bit guilty because, again, I had a vacation scheduled prior to this Locked On Sportscast coming into fruition. So, of course, and like I mentioned, the golf outing and things with my family, raising money for the scholarship, things that were near and dear to my heart. But at the same time, I'm following this team the last couple of games before the All-Star break, and I'm fired up. And I was just so sad I wasn't on the air after some of those Dodgers games. And I tweeted this out jokingly. I was wine tasting up north on after Saturday's win. And you know what? Sunday was another come from behind win. So, yes, we didn't have Locked On Sports Detroit those 2 days, but man, it is great to see those Tigers teams, or that Tigers team, winning in dramatic fashion, and then tonight taking care of business. Mr. Nick says the Tigers have a magic number yet. Not quite, Mr. Nick, not quite. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on that. It's only July 19th. Let's pump the brakes, my guy, Mr. Nick. But yeah, Jason Walter says, I'm guessing that magic number is somewhere around 79. Yeah, exactly. Great point. But tonight's a win, 5-4 over the Blue Jays. You love to see it. Tigers moved to 48-50, 24-26 on the road. To win the first game of the series is always crucial. We love that. Way to go, Tigers. And we'll continue breaking this down because this team continues to roll even after the All-Star break. So don't go anywhere. We'll continue to break it down coming up next on Locked On Sports Detroit. Locked On Sports Detroit, Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for those baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about, or maybe in tonight's case, those cities north of the border in Toronto. Yes, that's right. We're talking about your rival cities with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay even in your rival's city. Now, listen, I've told you time and time again, some of my best memories as a kid were going on different road trips with my grandparents to watch the Tigers, my brothers, my cousins. I remember going to PNC Park in Pittsburgh, what was then Jacobs Field in Cleveland. The list goes on. We went to the Rogers Center in Toronto. In fact, I caught a ball. My brother got it signed by Pudge Rodriguez. And those are the memories that stay with you forever. And Booking.com, Booking.yeah makes that possible because they help you take care of those hotel stays. That's right. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or on the Booking.com app. That's right. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or on the Booking.com app. Today's episode is also made possible by PrizePicks. That's right. PrizePicks is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in, my friends. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Now, who doesn't want to do that, especially when you consider the fact, hey, you're watching these games anyways. You might as well add a little sizzle to that watching experience. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states. And listen, I know right now in the summer, we've got a lot of baseball. We're looking forward to the NFL season coming on, but PrizePicks has promotions to help keep things alive and spicy. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select players' stat projections on Tuesdays to helping your lineup hit or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Hey, that's today, so make note of that. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. You pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. All right, as we continue on with Locked On Sports Detroit and Locked On Tigers postcast, I want to talk a little bit about the pitching staff because, again, tonight was a night where we got enough offense. We got some help from the pitching staff, in particular, the start from Jack Flaherty. The bullpen wasn't necessarily sharp, but hey, Tyler Holton came in, shut the door for his third save. Jason Foley gets his fifth hold of the season with pitching an inning in that eighth inning. And even though Bo Brisky got shelled, did not record an out, gave up 3 hits and allowed 2 earned runs, the rest of the bullpen from Will Vest, Andrew Chafin, Jason Foley, and Tyler Holton were really, really good to help Jack Flaherty get that 7th win of the season, going 5 2/3, allowing 3 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned while striking out 8 and allowing just 1 walk. He threw 98 pitches, 62 of them for strikes. And this was the type of start where, hey, Jack Flaherty's kind of under the microscope right now. And I think you could say the same about Tarik Skubal because there's interest in and around the league for both of these guys as added assets at the deadline. So Jack Flaherty, whether he remains a Tiger or if Chris Ilitch and in particular Scott Harris are able to orchestrate a deal, him pitching well bodes well for the organization as a whole. So a lot of comments to get in and discuss. We'll start with Rufus, the Motor City Kitten fan, says, I'll be so glad to be back to our normal announcers tomorrow. Those Apple dudes were not great. Yeah, I wanted to get to this eventually, and now is as good a time as ever, but the Apple TV broadcast doesn't do it for me as well. In fact, hand up, I admit I was scrolling around looking for the game for the first half inning because I thought, okay, why is it not showing up on my MLB TV package? Why is it blacked out? This is a Tigers Blue Jays game. What's going on here? And then it clicked to me. Oh yeah, Friday night, maybe it's on Apple TV, and there you go. Yeah, it'll be good to hear Benetti tomorrow and on Sunday. Although Benetti sometimes misses some Saturday games, so I don't quote me on that. Not 100% sure. All right, YouTube user says Daz and Jake weren't top 10 to 20 prospects in MLB. They were me prospects. Daz wasn't even top 50, if I remember correctly, referring to the haul that the Tigers have gotten past trades, Daz Cameron and Jake Rogers. And I honestly think, and I know there was a lot of discussion online on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, about the haul that the Tigers could get for Tarik Skubal, and in particular with the Boston Red Sox. He had people from the Red Sox, or not the organization, but following and covering the Red Sox that say, no, we need more in than just Tarik Skubal for that. And the Tigers faithful saying, no, we need more in return if we're giving you Tarik Skubal. So I think it just goes to show that nobody really knows the type of haul that Tarik Skubal could potentially return for the Tigers. Top of the hour with Corey Leland says the 2 bats you were expecting to contribute more than they have, Torque, of course, and losing Carpenter to injury. Had they contributed as expected, how many games over 500 are they today? Very good hypothetical question. We love hypothetical questions on this program, but I put more of the blame on the organization for not providing any sort of depth offensively. And if you're counting on Spencer Torkelson, you can't account for Kerry Carpenter's injury, but those are just 2 guys. Imagine having 2 more guys in the form of Matt Chapman or JD Martinez or both, because you had the payroll to do it, and the Tigers just refused to do it. But again, that's looking into the rearview mirror a little bit much. So I appreciate the fact that we can at least have the discussion that, hey, yeah, this team could even be better if their number 1 overall draft pick, Spencer Torkelson, had even half the season that he had last year. Remember, this is a guy that hit 30 home runs last year. And I know he's a late bloomer, but he's just not doing anything in AAA for Toledo. And it really is discouraging to think about that. YouTube user says, I'm still selling. This is going to be about a 500 baseball team. And you know what? We're all entitled to that opinion. I get that. But you got to feel good about the brand of baseball that they're playing right now. 9 of their last 11. And we're not talking beating up on the lower level and the lower echelon of the Major League Baseball league as a whole. We're talking about beating really good teams taking the series against the Cleveland Guardians, taking 2 or 3 against the Dodgers. And I know the Blue Jays, and it's only one game, but you look at those 2 series and what that could mean for this team for this season, and you start to think, wow, maybe that is in fact the turning point of this entire season as a whole, because lo and behold, this team has been different since then. The swag is there. I talked about the body language, and even the series sweep against the Reds before that to kind of propel them into the situation that they're in now, where all of a sudden you do have that confidence and you say, let's go take a series against the Cleveland Guardians. Let's go take 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. Let's never give up in those games and win some games late. And you compile that momentum even with the All-Star break and some rest. And then in return, you've got a win over the Blue Jays in the beginning of the second half season, 5-4, the final tonight. So again, it's checking a lot of boxes for me. I feel really good about where this team is. And that's the beautiful thing about baseball is it can all change. It's a long freaking season. How many times do we say that? It's game after game. It's 162 of these. So where we are right now, I love doing that. Let's take the temperature. Let's take the pulse. It's Friday, July 19th, and you feel good about where this team is at. And I'm not going to blame anybody that says, wait a second, we're not selling anybody. Let's go get a wild card spot. Let's get into the playoffs and see where Tarek Skubal, Jack Flaherty, and Reese Olson can take us. And I'm not going to rebuttal that take by any means because, and quite frankly, I'm kind of getting closer and closer to being all in on that take as this team continues to show me a little bit more. Now, a lot of comments, which I love. We got a lot of people watching. It's so good to be back on the air with everybody talking about this Detroit Tigers team, talking about what they have accomplished in winning 9 of their last 11 and breaking down the game. We've got one more segment, so don't go anywhere. We're going to knock that out and tie a bow on this in just a moment. But before we go anywhere, got to give a huge shout out to our sponsors. That's next on Locked On Tigers Postcast. Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by Supply House and supplyhouse.com. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Let me just say that sentence one more time for you. You might need to write this down because let me tell you, this is the important stuff. 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, and you get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Tells you all you need to know. If you need help with an order, you can get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. None of that automated recording BS. You're talking to a person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. That's right, it's free. It's the Trade Master program. And every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Today's episode of Locked On Sports Detroit and Locked On Tigers Postcast is also made possible by America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. That's right, FanDuel.com. You should have it memorized by now. I know I do because I check the Tarek Skubal Cy Young odds just about every day because remember, I put that future bet in. Congrats to me. And I'm feeling like he's going to get that Cy Young award. Now, you guys know me. I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs have winded down, We get fewer and fewer games, but the sports, you know what? They're still sportsing the way you want to, and FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open that app and dream up bets, parlays anytime you're in that mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right, all customers, booster bonus daily. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. It's not too late. That's right. It's late July, but get over there to FanDuel.com because this is for all customers and it's a bonus daily. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All you have to do is go to FanDuel.com and check it out for yourself. Go today. Woo, it's been a great show, Locked On Sports Detroit. If you haven't yet, subscribe on YouTube, Locked On Tigers Postcast. Lots of comments, and boy, do I appreciate them because, again, I missed you guys. Vacation was great, but it's so good to be back. It's so good to be back after the All-Star break and breaking down Tigers baseball, especially after a 5-4 win over the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I promised my grandmother, who I love so dearly and was at the Tigers and Reds series. My grandparents, they were at the Tigers-Dodgers games, you name it. But when I saw her over the course of my time on vacation, she provided me with some new swag for the backdrop and bonus points if you can point out where it is. But over this shoulder right here, you can kind of see it. My grandmother gave me one of those nice hardcover programs that's got the Motor City Connect uniforms on it. And then on the top up there, over there we go. We've got the Tigers program for a game day that has Riley Green, some of the updated guys, Tarek Skubal, and so on and so forth. My grandma said I needed to spice it up a little bit. So, I always listen to MJ when she's got advice for me. So those are a few new additions to the studio here on Locked On Sports Detroit. And again, Locked On Tigers Postcast, always coming to you live covering this team. And it's been a lot of fun as of late because they've won 9 of their last 11. A couple more comments to get to. Adam Colum getting in, YouTube user of the position players currently on the 40-man roster. Who do you project to have a WAR above 1.5 to end this season and in next season? That's a good question, and I guess we could get into that as we wrap up here. Only have a couple of more minutes, but the WAR category is interesting because you look at some of these Tigers players, and obviously Riley Green, a guy that's been an all-star, his statistics from top to bottom have been really, really good. And the WAR is interesting to look at, especially with guys like Matt Chapman and JD Martinez, because those two guys would have a really good WAR compared to the two players we added this season in Mark Canha and Gio Urshela. And I don't want to take away from Mark Canha. He had a home run today, and he hasn't been great, but hey, he contributed to the win today, so I'm not going to talk about his negative WAR. But obviously, a guy like Riley Green is somebody who has some great WAR. And I won't nerd out with all the analytics, and I appreciate the question. But that said, we're not going to spend a ton of time on it. But guys like Riley Green, who obviously really contribute to this team's contributions from top to bottom, Tarek Skubal, and so on and so forth. And I don't have everybody's WAR memorized, but I would be curious to look at some guys that like Zach McKinstry, what his WAR is at, played shortstop tonight. When Kerry Carpenter gets back in the lineup, what his WAR is like. And there's a lot of different statistics that we could, statistic ourselves to death and really try to break down and understand the identity of this team and the pulse of this team. But it's a good question. It's certainly worth a lot of discussion. But other than Riley Green, I really don't think this team has a lot of guys that really grade out in the WAR category super well. All right. Word Vango says, welcome back, Jake. Appreciate that. Jason Walter says, always listen to Grandma. Of course, I always do. She said my backdrop in the studio here needed some spicing up. So we've got that covered right there. Adam Cullen says, on Saturday, it was all with 2 outs. Who would have thought? Talking about this Dodgers comeback, it was insane. That said, yeah, the Dodgers committed some errors, but we won't look too far back into the rearview mirror because, again, this Tigers team is playing great. They've won 9 of their last 11, and it's been a lot of fun following them. And, hey, let's keep it going tomorrow because Tigers and Blue Jays, again, can get back into the action tomorrow. And I got to double check, but I believe it's a 2 o'clock start time, which Toronto always has those weird start times. Yes, 2:07, and it's Reese Olson on the bump for the Tigers versus Kikuchi, who pitched on that Sunday against the Blue Jays, or for the Blue Jays against the Tigers, when the Tigers won that game 14-11. So he's been pretty good this season, but the Tigers got to him when he pitched the last time at Comerica Park. So this will be a fun matchup between Reese Olson and Kikuchi tomorrow. So that said, appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, it's a pleasure to be on the air with you. It's always great talking Tiger baseball, especially after the win. Appreciate everybody's comments. We had a ton of them tonight. And if you're catching the audio-only version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit, because, again, we've got you covered. And who knows, maybe this summer will turn into a wild, wild ride. And wouldn't it be fun to all go on that ride together? So make sure you like the video, subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit, tell a friend about the channel, share it with a friend, and let's continue to cheer on this Tigers team that has been really, really good as of late. 9 of their last 11. And we'll see if they can go for the series win tomorrow. 3-game series. They've got game 1, game 2. It's Reese Olson on the bump for the Tigers. So have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you next time on Locked On Sports Detroit.